advisor to the Trump campaign, CNN political commentator Kayleigh McEnany, CNN political contributor Hillary Rosen, and Bakari Sellers, CNN political commentator. Okay, glad to have all of you on. Congressman, we just heard top intelligence leaders testify that they were more than certain that Putin was behind the election hacking, that Russian intercepts captured officials expressing happiness with the election results. At this point, should the president-elect acknowledge that it is accurate that the Russians meddled in the election?
Well,
not that they changed the outcome, but that they meddled.
I think after his hearing tomorrow, he will make a statement, and at that point, he may say that they have confirmed that there was no result that was changed because of possible interference from them, and I think that's something that he may want to say. I talked to them. There does appear to be Russian monitoring and of our election, or at least the DNC emails, but it did not affect the election results, and I think that's probably what we're going to hear. But he's going to have a really good briefing tomorrow, and I think he's going to ask tough questions, and he's going to be given some tough answers.
Hillary, here's how Donald Trump responded, or one of the staff members, whoever tweeted, said the Democratic National Committee would not allow the FBI to study or see its computer info after it was supposedly hacked by Russia. So how and why are they so sure about hacking if they never ever requested the examination of the computer servers? What's going on? I can't believe I'm reading a tweet about something that has to be serious from the president-elect. But what's your reaction?
That's the problem with a tweet, is that it doesn't really tell the story. Indeed, the FBI didn't actually ask the DNC to see the computer, so there was no denial of access to it, because there was a vendor that the FBI has worked with repeatedly over the course of the last several years that had taken screenshots, that had done investigations, and the FBI took all of the data and material from that vendor, CrowdStrike. So this is really a red herring. I think that back to your original issue, which is, what does the country want to hear from Donald Trump after his intelligence briefing tomorrow? Yes, we want to hear that he respects the facts that the intelligence officials have brought to the American people, and do, I think, would provide some comfort. But Carl Bernstein actually raised the earlier bigger picture point, which is this constant sort of denial about Russia's influence and attempted influence in the U.S. I don't think is connected as much to the elections for Donald Trump. I think it's really connected to his relationship, his cloudy relationship with Putin and Russian financiers. And that's really going to be the critical thing that Americans need to hear over the next couple of weeks, is what is Donald Trump's relationship there?
Kayleigh, Carl Bernstein said that moments ago, but there are others who have said the same thing, that maybe he doesn't want to divest, maybe he is denying that Russia had an influence because somehow he is entangled with Russia, maybe owing Russia money, and so on.
I don't think that's it. Look, I think if you look at history, you see President Bush, who tried to give Russia a chance, calling them a strategic partner. That failed. Obama praised Putin in his, believe it was his kitchen. That failed. Trump's wanting to just give him a chance, as the other presidents have done, and they were proven wrong, that this is not a trustworthy ally. I think this has everything to do with the election. Donald Trump won this election.
It is unprecedented for a U.S. president to have such support for Vladimir Putin, the tyrant, and to praise Russia so much, and Julian Assange and so on.
People forget that President Obama stood in the home of Vladimir Putin and said, "I'll never forget all of the great things you have done for the Russian people." Keep in mind, this is a KGB agent who is a violent man who cannot be trusted. So I would encourage President-elect Trump to look to the past and see that Obama did not succeed here, Bush did not succeed here. Why would this be any different? Maybe he's the one who can make it work. I don't know.
Bakari, is that a fair comparison?
No. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, look, we all understand that this relationship that Donald Trump has with Vladimir Putin is a lot closer than anything Barack Obama had. It's a lot closer than anything George W. Bush had. I mean, you can go back further and further and further, and you'll see that this relationship is causing a lot of concern. I mean, I think that the trouble is not necessarily this briefing tomorrow. It's the fact that Donald Trump has chosen Vladimir Putin and Julian Assange over the President of the United States and our American intelligence agencies. And he's done that in tweets, and he's said it over and over again. So I don't know why we expect anything to change tomorrow. I actually hope that he gives the answer that Congressman Kingston actually said, that this did not influence the election, let's move on, because that will actually chip away at what Donald Trump actually touts, and that's strength. That is a very, very weak answer. And if he doesn't stand up to Russia as president of the United States, then we need somebody who will. And I guess we have to rely on the United States Congress, led by John McCain and others.
But who will stand up to Russia? I mean, it's just so crazy hearing it from Democrats, because comes from, you supported President Obama, who whispered in the ear of Medvedev, I'll have more flexibility after the election, who allowed him to annex Crimea, allowed him to march into the Ukraine.
Allowed.
And did not care about the cyber attacks.
That's the biggest issue. We
Kayleigh,
actually now have sanctions against Russia because of Putin's activity. So, you know, there is no allowing here. And the point that Donald Trump has a relationship with Putin and that his family has talked about how their developments have been funded by Russian financiers, there's just too much in the past there that hasn't been answered. And Donald Trump owes the American people those answers.
Well,
for the last 2 years, Russia's economy has become crippled. For all practical purposes, right now, Russia is a gas station with a nuclear weapon. That's about it. So, I mean, to say that the President of the United States actually allowed something, the President of the United States helped cripple Russia's economy. He now has new sanctions on that, and John McCain and Lindsey Graham want to take that further. The question I have for Kayleigh and others is if the United States Congress puts a sanctions bill on the desk of the President of the United States that goes further than what Barack Obama did, will Donald Trump actually sign it? I don't have faith that he will. I don't know anybody else who has faith that he will.
I think, number one, if the U.S. Congress decides that there's evidence out there that would merit it, I think the president would be behind it. But I think he would be the first one to say, remember the famous Obama-Hillary Clinton reset of Russia. As Kayleigh said, if we can rebuild this relationship, if we can move it in a positive direction, if we can work with Russia to defeat ISIS, for example, is that not a good thing for America? Is that not a good thing for world peace? And I think that the new president should be given that opportunity. I also want to say that a lot of these questions and these allegations that we're hearing, they can be vetted through the hearing process. A lot of the people who are going to be confirmed will have some of these tough questions. It might not be.
What allegations?
Well, let's just say we've heard from Hillary and Bakari that he has a relationship with Putin. I don't know of a relationship that he has with Putin. I don't know anything about it, but perhaps those are going to be questions for some of the nominees.
So you don't know about